I'm a mysterious. Might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
What's up, everybody? Got to fix this real quick. How y'all feeling tonight? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline to Sideline, brought to you by Wire to Wire Podcast Network. With us, joining us, we're missing one of our four. Missing my man, taking it deep, D. Godfrey tonight. That's okay. He'll be back for our next show. He's in an airport doing some weird stuff. I don't know. Smuggling something. I don't know. But in the upper left corner, I got the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. He's chomping at the bit to get rolling. How you feeling tonight, Kyle?
I'm good. You know, free agency has been kind of interesting because as a Patriots fan, I'm not used to them actually being active somewhat early.
I just want to make sure you are good because I don't know if it's a good active or a bad active for the New England Patriots. I do appreciate you guys covering some of Devontae Parker's salary for us. It was very nice of you guys. I appreciate that. It's, you know.
No, I think it's a good active. I really do.
All right. That's good. Well, I talked to my man, Mr. N1 himself. Not guarding at 2. He's guarding at 3. If you want some basketball talk tonight, listen to N1 podcast. They're going live at 9 o'clock. But Guardy 3, how you feeling? What's popping? What's going on? Are you happy with the Jacobs for Jones swap? Do you think it's a good fit? We'll talk about that tonight, but how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm really hyped up. I'm ready to talk some sports tonight.
Well, just like Madden says, EA Sports, let's get in the game. We're going to start with what I think is the biggest free agency move. Kirk Cousins signs with the Atlanta Falcons, $180 million. Huge deal. I'll tell you right now, you can accuse Kirk Cousins of a lot of things. Being an intelligent businessman is not one of them. He's definitely that. The guy is a very intelligent businessman. He's made millions and millions of guaranteed dollars. Let's start with Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Kyle, I'll start with you being from the ATL area. What's the thoughts in Atlanta? What's your thoughts on the deal to begin with?
Well, I mean, the thoughts in Atlanta, there's a lot of people who had their mind set on Justin Fields, didn't get him, so they're kind of coping with it. I'm fine with it. Look, you've seen Desmond Ridder. You're bringing in Kirk Cousins. It's an obvious upgrade. Kirk Cousins puts up numbers. Yeah, he has the whole primetime thing in the playoff, stigma and everything like that. But this is a division where he's going to come in as the best quarterback in the division. And the Falcons have enough talent that all they really needed was a capable quarterback to get the ball to Drake London, Kyle Pitts. You know, they have Bijan Robinson that they can feature in the passing game. Kirk Cousins will do that. So I think it's a good move for him. I mean, money-wise, whatever. But if it's 4 straight years of you winning the division, getting into the playoffs, once you get in the playoffs, you have a shot technically. So I feel like as a Falcons fan, you kind of have to be on board with the move.
Yeah, but isn't it like purgatory? Isn't it like, all right, like, let me put it to you this way, right? Think about an NBA team that sits around the 4 seed every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they get in the NBA playoffs. They might get a home series. They're the New York Knicks of last year. Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young. They get to the 4 seed. They get a home playoff series, maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know they're not going to win the finals.
True.
Do you look at it that way as a Falcons fan, or do you look at it like, well, we're better than we were last year. We can win the division. We can make the playoffs. We can take a step forward and develop some of our young talent.
I feel like you have to look at it. You can take a step forward, develop young talent. With the NFC, I mean, look what we saw last year. We saw a Lions team break through, make a deep run. We saw Green Bay get in, win a playoff game, look good. Atlanta, you got to look at it as, behind the Niners, and you'd have to say like the Eagles. There's a lot up in the air. And if things break right, why can't you possibly make a deep run? So, I mean, I get what you're saying, kind of like purgatory, only because if you don't necessarily win it within the 4 years of Kirk Cousins' contract, you could look at alternatives like maybe you should have gone with a young guy and done it that way. Maybe push a little harder for Justin Fields. Sure. But
hold on.
Could have
Right.
been.
You've been in that division, right? Well, hang on. I'm going to go right back to you. Right. You've been in the division where Kirk Cousins. You've been in the division with Justin Fields. What team do you, what all right, first of all, what is Atlanta getting with Kirk Cousins? And who has a higher ceiling? Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
So I'll start with the ceiling question. Who has the higher ceiling? That's Justin Fields. I think the Kirk Cousins, what you're getting is you're getting consistency, and that's something that the Falcons just haven't had in a while. Something that Kirk will consistently do for you. He's going to get the ball into the hands of your playmakers, and he's going to trust that they'll do something with it. I think this contract is actually really good for the Falcons, short-term and long-term. You can get some of these young guys playoff experience. Not only that, Kirk Cousins is the perfect quarterback to develop a young guy behind. He's got a lot of intangibles that a young QB you can draft maybe in the first or second round 2 years down the road, and they can learn behind Kirk. So I think that in this scenario, I guess I don't know what the deal was with Justin Fields, if the Bears are asking for too much or what's going on there. But
we're going to get into that mess of a franchise shortly. They're a mess.
Yes.
They overplayed their hand, and no one bought in, and everyone folded, and they moved to a different table.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that.
For sure. But, yeah, I actually like the deal. I think it's good short and long term for the Falcons.
So maybe I'm just a Justin Fields fan, and maybe I'm a fanatic, and I really wanted what I said to happen was going to happen. We played this last night on Wire to Wire, but I'm really, really interested to hear you guys' opinions on it. I think Brett knows what's coming next. I want to play a quick game of Kirk Cousins or. And what we'll say is we'll set it for the next 4 years. So Kirk Cousins is a 4-year contract. The next 4 years, would you rather have Kirk Cousins or? Okay. Now, we're going to eliminate some of the obvious ones. Obviously, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, probably even, I'll leave Trevor Lawrence out of it. We'll add him to it. But Lamar Jackson, we're going to leave those guys out of it. We're going to go in that 6 through 15, 6 through 20 range and ask you guys for the next 4 years, would you rather have Kirk Cousins or? And I'll start with Guardy 3's Green Bay Packers. Do you want Kirk Cousins or Jordan Love?
Do you want me to go first or last on this one?
You guys have fun with it. It's literally not just who you'd rather have next 4 years.
Oh, yeah. I'll take my guy. I'll stick with Jordan Love.
Yeah, from what I saw last year, yeah, I would go with Jordan Love.
Okay. Let's take another step forward then. Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff?
Ooh, this one is slightly tougher because pre-injury I actually would have said Kirk Cousins. So I'll stick with Kirk. I think he'll come back perfectly fine from his injury. So I'll go Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I got Kirk too. Yeah.
I got Jared Goff. I have Jordan Love. Kirk Cousins or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, hopefully last year isn't a trend for Trevor Lawrence, but I'd probably say Trevor Lawrence, yeah.
Okay. Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson?
Ooh.
I hate to say it. I'd probably go Kirk. I root for Russ, but yeah, I'll go Kirk.
Yeah. Kirk's been consistently better over the past few years. I'll go with Kirk.
Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott?
I will take NFC South, Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott. East,
Oh,
sorry.
wait. For the Atlanta Falcons, you'll take Kirk Cousins over Dak Prescott.
I meant to say Dak Prescott, but I mixed up my divisions.
Okay.
I'll take Dak Prescott.
That was interesting. I was great for a hot take there.
Yeah, I guess you'd probably have to go Dak. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins or Brock Purdy?
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, we've only seen Brock Purdy in kind of the specific bubble he's been in with the Niners that seemed perfect for him. So, yeah, I'd go Kirk.
I only have 3 more for you guys. Kirk Cousins or Kyler Murray?
Oh, give me Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins or Caleb Williams? Next 4 years. That's it. Not his whole career. Next 4 years.
4 years? No. I'll take my chances with Caleb Williams.
I might go Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins or Tua?
Kirk Cousins.
And then the last one I have is Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
I like upside. Give me Justin Fields.
Hey, I'm big on Justin Fields as well. I'll take Fields.
See, this is what drives me nuts about the Chicago Bears. All offseason, you heard that there were 3 to 4 teams that were interested in trading for Justin Fields. 3 or 4 teams that are interested in trading for Justin Fields. The Steelers went on and signed Russell Wilson. The Falcons now went out and got Kirk Cousins. The Raiders went out and signed Gardner Minshew and promised him a chance to compete for the starting job. Where can Justin Fields land at this point? And how poorly did the Bears overplay their hand? Do you guys think the Bears overplayed their hand, or do you think there really wasn't real suitors? Like, I really want to hear your opinions on this, because to me, it's very clear that the Bears organization continues to be the Bears organization. Drives me nuts.
No, I think this is easy. They easily just overplayed their hand. And I really doubt there's a whole list of non-suitors for Justin Fields, and there probably still is some. Maybe the Giants want to take a chance on him in case something happens with Daniel Jones. But I think at the end of the day, the Bears just overplayed their hand, and now they're going to have to take pennies on the dollar for their return.
Did you hear that they're literally the Eagles are offering him a 5th-round draft pick for him to play backup quarterback for Philadelphia? That's what it's dropped to. Because there's no other spots, and they have to get him off the roster. The Bears have literally screwed everything up, and there's no other. Where is a home for him, Kyle? Where can he go and start next year?
I mean, I have no idea, because they've made it seem for so long now that Caleb Williams is obviously the guy. I thought once that was kind of made known, they should have been right then and there ready to move on from Fields. But it almost seems like in their mind, they thought Fields was such a high commodity that they'd probably get a 1st or a 2nd or several picks for him. And not to put them in the same stratosphere or anything, but we just saw the Patriots dump Mac Jones for a 6th-round pick. And maybe for the Bears, seeing that made them blind to the idea that if you want to get rid of Fields, maybe it's not a 1st or 2nd round. You might have to take a 4th or a 5th. But the whole point of it should have been, if you're taking Caleb Williams, you can't have Justin Fields in the building with Caleb Williams. Because if you started Caleb Williams and he struggled, Fields is still young enough and showed enough last season that fans would be like, so put Fields back in. If you want to completely give Caleb Williams his shot, Fields has to be out of the building. I don't know what you do. Do you call New England? See how interested they are at this point? Would they take a Justin Fields over possibly a Drake May at number 3? If you can't swing that, I don't know what you do with them. They're stuck. They backed themselves into a corner for no reason.
I hate doing this, but I want to address one of the comments. And I love Michael Irvin. Me and Michael Irvin see eye to eye on a lot of sports talks. But he said Fields is a turnover machine. Not sure he can read a defense, but as a Steeler fan, I'd give up a 4 or a 5 for him. All right, so and then real quick, I'll just address Joseph Jeffers. I'd like to see him somewhere like Seattle. The problem is Seattle just traded for Sam Howell, and they have Geno Smith on their contract, so you won't see him in Seattle. Let's address the turnover machine thing. I kind of want to get into this because I feel like that people don't make enough about how poorly ran the Bears organization is. We all agree we've seen Trevor Lawrence play good football, right? Have we seen Jalen Hurts play good football?
Yep.
He's played good football before, right? How did they look? Yep. How did Jalen Hurts look at the end of last year?
Not great.
Not too good. Not too good.
How'd Trevor Lawrence look his rookie year?
Terrible.
How did Peyton Manning look his rookie year?
Probably should have cut him.
And like, guys, I don't want to just make this a one or done thing. When you're in a bad organization like the Chicago Bears with a terrible Luke Getsy was their offensive coordinator. Terrible OC. If you know who Luke Getsy is, you know that he was a decent college OC. Like, he's not a good offensive coordinator. You ran in that system last year with a defensive head coach with Eberflus, and you can blame the turnovers on Fields all you want. They had the 30th ranked offensive line in the NFL. They do not have a top 10 running back. Up until last year, they haven't had a top 10 wide receiver. You can argue DJ Moore would be top 10. He's close. But outside of DJ Moore, you have Darnell Mooney and a bag of Doritos with Cole Kmet. Is it really Justin Fields, or is it an inept organization? And here's a point I'll bring up to you guys, right? Let's just say it was Justin Fields. Are the Bears really this unlucky or this bad at scouting quarterback talent? You know, they drafted Mitch Trubisky instead of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And by the way, just for fun, anybody out there, anyone want to name me the greatest quarterback in Bears history? Who is the best quarterback in Bears history?
Jim McMahon?
I mean,
that's the answer. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Jim McMahon stinks. You're talking about Trent Dilfer. Derek Dempsey said Cutler. Joseph Jefferson says McMahon.
Yeah.
Michael Arfin said Sid Luckman. Guys, this is what I mean. Wait, now look at the Packers, right? Same division. I'm about to give Brett his roses because we're going to head to the Packers shortly. Look at the Packers. They went from Bart Starr to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love now. That's 4 quarterbacks. For what? I mean, I'm sure they had a bad quarterback in between Starr and Favre because I don't know. Maybe Brett will help me out. He's the historian. But I'm not like trying to be rude when I say this, but the Packers have 4 quarterbacks that would be the greatest quarterback in Bears history overnight. And they've played a total of 40 years for them. Probably more than that, if I'm being honest. All right, this is good organizations find quarterbacks. Bad organizations find ways to screw them up. And sometimes we look at this draft and we're like, this guy's a surefire product. Like, so Mike said he doesn't think Fields can read a defense, okay? He didn't have any issues reading that Clemson defense when he threw 6 touchdown passes against them when Ohio State played Clemson in the college football semifinals. He didn't have any problem with Ryan Day's offensive scheme. Is it really Fields or is it the Bears?
I think it's a combination of both because this just shows once again the Bears cannot develop a quarterback. Like we talk about the Packers, okay, they even developed Matt Flynn to be a decent quarterback, good enough to be a backup. You can't say much about the Bears doing that at all. They really, for years, they've been around for 100 years, and they haven't had a franchise quarterback. Not only is this on their scouting team, it's also on their lack of being able to develop a guy like Fields. Yeah, he does struggle reading a defense. That's something I've noticed with him. And yeah, some of that is on him, but it's also the Bears, once again, being extremely inept at not only developing an offense that cuts down on his weaknesses, that is absolutely also on them for not developing them properly. So once again, I blame this one a lot on the Bears.
He also said Johnny Manziel dominated in college. There's a difference between dominating in the Big 12 and dominating in Big 10. You're right, I think Johnny Manziel was hella talented, if we're being honest. If you watch some of his documentaries, he probably could have been a good NFL quarterback if his head was screwed on right. No one's ever had that issue with Justin Fields, whether his head's screwed on right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe NFL scouts are smarter than me and they know that Justin's just not it. All right, so we want to move on because we do have a big situation at running backs. They're getting paid this year. How about that? A lot of running back contracts. I want to start with guard E3, and I found it very interesting. They removed on from Aaron Jones and signed Josh Jacobs. From an outsider's perspective, that to me looked like a minor upgrade. I'm not a huge Jacobs guy. He obviously had a couple good years for Las Vegas. He might be a good runner in that Green Bay, like the cold weather. But I felt like they had A.J. Dillon. Not saying that, but they're very similar running backs. It's not a thunder and lightning situation. It's a thunder and thunder. So what's your thoughts on the signing of Josh Jacobs?
At first, I disliked it. Listen, when it comes to Aaron Jones or Josh Jacobs, I think Aaron Jones is straight up a better talent than Josh Jacobs. However, when it comes to those two, I can see why we made the move. So the contract is for 4 years, $48 million. Looking deeper, there's a team option after every year. So if you really want to move on, if he doesn't pan out this season, we can cut ties with him. But I think the bigger thing to remember in this situation is Josh Jacobs is only 26. Aaron Jones turns 30 this year. That's a scary number to be paying a running back who's already had an injury history. He missed half the season last year. And he finished strong, but at the end of the day, we can't pay an injury-prone running back who's about to turn 30, $12 million. And his cap hit for this year is actually $17 million. So this is a situation where it's unfortunate in many ways. Aaron Jones was the heart and soul of our team and offense. So it's going to suck losing him, but I completely understand why they did it. So I think we downgraded a little bit talent-wise, but I think this works out better in the long run.
Okay. Kyle, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's I think that makes a lot of sense where we've seen a lot of running backs once they hit 30, they start heading downhill. And if the Packers were just look at it as a chance to bring in a guy who's 4 years younger, that way you have probably 4 years of maybe him being effective, whereas Aaron Jones, maybe they see something where they're worried about what he'll look like next year. Yeah, it's tough to move on from a guy who's been so important, but for the better of the team, you kind of have to do it. So I mean, I understand the move, and I'm okay with the move. Seemed like a good fit.
With all the running backs out there, why overpay Jacobs? I'm not like I'll bet you if you offered Saquon Barkley that exact same contract, he'd took it. Do you think that Josh Jacobs is better than Saquon Barkley?
I don't think so. I think they just kind of went with Jacobs for the most part over the past couple of years has been healthy. I don't think they wanted to get another running back.
That's fair.
Like Aaron Jones, who's been, who's immensely talented, but he keeps missing time with injuries. Like Aaron Jones keeps having hamstring issues. So I don't really think this is about talent per se. Not to say Jacobs isn't talented. I think this is more so about talent mixed with availability, which combine those two, Josh Jacobs all of a sudden looks like one of the best backs on the market in those two regards.
You're right. You're absolutely right there. Running backs are getting paid this offseason, guys. Joe Mixon just signed a 3-year extension with the Texans. $27 million. $9 million per year. What are your thoughts on Joe Mixon to the Texans? Excuse me, and what he can bring to that organization?
I mean, what the running back last year was
Devin
Singletary.
And then they had
Dameon Pierce. I don't know what's gone on there. He came on like really strong early on, and then he got hurt. And it seems like he's been really kind of slow to get back to where he was. I mean, Joe Mixon is an effective running back. The problem was the Bengals have a lot of talent offensively, and he's kind of the odd man out. I mean, he had to restructure his deal this past season just to stay in Cincinnati. So I think for a young organization like Houston with a young quarterback in CJ Stroud, I'm fine with Joe Mixon being their running back.
Okay. I see. Now, I think what Joe Mixon brings to that team is a little bit more than running the football. You have a young quarterback. Now you have a veteran running back that's going to help pick up blitzes.
Yeah.
That's going to help him understand and read the offense on the field. Do you think Devin Singletary was doing that for him? We know Damian Pierce wasn't. That's why he couldn't stay on the field. But now Damian Pierce thing, it was a real Bobby Slowick thing. Bobby Slowick won't keep you on the field if you're not good at picking up the blitz. And with Damian Pierce, he just wasn't good at it. Now, the Texans have had a hell of an offseason. Let's start there. I don't want to move off the running backs too quick, but because we're on the Texans, we got to talk about it. Their offseason has been littered with talent, littered with it. So let's go through it step by step. They re-signed Dalton Schultz. They signed Azeez Al-Shahir. They signed Jeffrey Okudah, Danico Autry, Daniil Hunter, huge deal, $24.5 million a year, which is a lot for an edge rusher. And then they re-signed Desmond King and they re-signed Kaimi Fairbairn and Eric Murphy. How about the offseason for the Houston Texans so far?
I love it. Listen, you got a rookie quarterback that's on his rookie contract. Now's the time to stock talent. So I absolutely love it. I think they've done a phenomenal job. They've all signed positions of need. And guys like Joe Mixon, too, are going to help out a ton. Not only is he a phenomenal running back, he's also a very good pass catcher. And he's a veteran. He can help read defenses. He can kind of help out in the offense. So overall, I think they're doing it right by signing all this talent while C.J. Stroud's not, paid yet. And I love what they're doing so far.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the Texans, are one of the teams that you can argue have won the offseason so far. Kyle?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. It's a team that last season was ahead of schedule, made the playoffs, and they probably have maybe changed their, philosophy on maybe like a slow build, and now they're like, well, we've won a division, we've made the playoffs, want to try to push the envelope, increase the talent, and see what we can do. Maybe it's another divisional title, another spot in the postseason. Maybe they could win a couple of games in the postseason. Who knows? Because CJ Stroud burst on the scene last year. And like Brett said, on your rookie deal, you got to take advantage of that. And that's what they're doing. So I love what they're doing.
So last night I made a statement on Wire to Wire that I thought the Titans were having a terrible offseason. And then I examined it. I kind of really took a step back and read the contracts and understood them a little bit more. I see Joseph Jeffers in the comments, and I don't want to say I owe you an apology, but I will say I backtracked my statements that the Titans are having a terrible offseason. I don't think they're having a terrible offseason, but we'll talk about running back signing. Tony Pollard signed a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Titans. I don't know if that's a great fit or not. I don't think he's a bell cow, but I think it's perfect in a sense. They have Tajay Spears there, so they can run those two can be running back by committees. And shocker, rookie contract ends for Tajay Spears in 3 years. 3 years, $24 million for Pollard. So basically what you're saying is your running back room is Pollard and Spears for the next 3 years. I like that. I actually don't mind that. I think Tony Pollard does his best work in a running back by committee. I don't think he's a bad running back. He's just not a bell cow, right? And Spears told you last year how good of a pass-catching running back he is. He took a lot of time from King Henry. What are your thoughts on the Titans offseason? I'll get into – let me read it out to you guys real quick. They signed Awuzie 3 years, $36 million. They got Cushenberry 4 years, $50 million. Kenneth Murray signed there, $7.5 million a year. But the big signings were this, right? Tony Pollard and then Calvin Ridley, 4 years, $92 million. But let me just reiterate, it's a $50 million guarantee and it's front loaded. So why they have their quarterback on a rookie contract, they're dumping a lot of that salary early. They're overpaying him early so they can get out of it if it doesn't work in a year or two. And at minimum, you can at least see what you have in Will Levis for the next 2 years with guys like Pollard, Ridley, and obviously DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like. Levis, young quarterback, If you're going to truly evaluate him, give him the talent around him, and let's see. So I think with Ridley, because also I think Hopkins is on, I think he has like 1 year left on his deal. So if it's something where Hopkins and Ridley like set the world on fire, you can try to re-sign Hopkins and continue that and continue Levis's development. I mean, the genius of Ridley's deal will obviously depend on Levis's continued growth. If Levis struggles, then by midseason it'll look like, why give Ridley all that money if you don't have a good enough quarterback? So they're trying to put Levis in the best situation to perform. I can't argue with that. And they did address their O-line as well, which is an issue last season. So once again, it's an offseason where you see the direction. And I think that's what's important. So now it's up to Will Levis to kind of do his thing.
Brett?
Yeah, no, I think it's been a fine offseason for them so far. It's kind of tough to gauge teams that I'm not sure if because their signings almost seem like they want to compete, like they know they have a shot at the division. So I do like the Ridley signing because if you're going to develop a quarterback, stock up the talent around him, give them all the pass catchers, and they even signed an O-line and some O-linemen, and they even added a new O-line coach. So I think they've made a lot of moves to protect Will Levis, and I think that's great for them. So I do like what they're doing so far, and I do like how they're making it a real priority to make sure Levis stays upright and put him in the best possible position.
All right, guys, I couldn't go too long. I went 30 minutes. I'm really excited about what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing this offseason. They signed Saquon Barkley to a massive deal. And listen, the way they structured the salary cap, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley are less of a cap hit than Daniel Jones this year. That's insanity. But I don't want to glaze over the rest of their signings. Bryce Huff is a hell of an edge rusher. They signed him to a 3-year, $51 million deal. He was the edge rusher that they wanted. They got him. It all but spells the end to either Josh Sweat or Hassan Reddick, possibly both. So Saquon Barkley, 3 years, $37 million. Bryce Huff, 3 years, $51 million. My favorite signing this offseason, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 3 years, $33 million. He brings an attitude back to that defense that we were missing. Do you think it's a surprise that with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson 2 years ago, the Eagles took that step forward, took that team to the Super Bowl? He leaves, he goes to the Detroit Lions. That defense takes a step forward and goes to the NFC Championship game. I don't think that's a shock. I think leaders lead, and I think Gardner-Johnson is one of those guys you always want on your defense. He's a nightmare to play against. He's a trash talker, and he will hit you across the middle. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had more interceptions in his first 10 games with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022 than the Philadelphia Eagles' entire team had in their first 10 games last year. It's a problem. He might solve it. Vic Fangio guy, loves nasty guys. Your thoughts on the Eagles offseason so far? They also re-signed Landon Dickerson. They didn't re-sign them. They extended Landon Dickerson 4 years, $84 million. Best left guard in football. And then you got Jake Elliott, and then there's a couple just BS ones. They re-signed their long snapper. Brandon Graham's playing his last year out. They re-signed their punter. Yeah, nothing else to really write home about outside the 4 deals I talked about.
I think the Eagles have made one thing clear. They want to establish last year, the end of the year wasn't us. We're coming back and we're coming for revenge. And they haven't been quiet this offseason. They saw that they needed to improve. They went out and did it. This is going to be a real nasty team to deal with. And I think that they've had an awesome offseason so far. I don't have any issues with them. So I really like it. Bringing back Gardner-Johnson, 10 out of 10, 11 mil a year. I think that's going to be an absolute steal.
I didn't realize how young he was. Do you know how old Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is?
When he gets 28?
Kyle?
I mean, I was going to say 27.
He's 26 years old.
Okay.
I did not think that. He played for the Saints for a few years, the Eagles, the Lions. He's on his fourth team. He's 26. I want to answer a question. Joseph Jeffers says, who's going to play center? I'm almost sure that's going to be Cam Jurgens. I think Cam Jurgens will be their center. He was the guy to Jason Kelsey, the heir apparent. Like, he drafted Cam Jurgens, said he's the next version of me. Get him in here. He's a lunch pail guy. And as he left, he said Cam Jurgens is the guy. So I think Cam Jurgens will step right into that center role. I think Tyler Steen will be their right guard, or they'll draft someone. But I also didn't mention, and I don't know why it's not listed or finalized, but Devontae Parker as a third wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles is not a bad signing. It's not a number one, but to be a number three, he's better than Quez Watkins.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only issue with Devontae Parker is staying on the field, but yeah, he's a red zone target. He's a guy who can go up and get it. He attacks the ball at its highest point. Why not? As a third receiver, you'll take that. I just think when you look at the way the Eagles season ended last year, this offseason, like Brett was saying, proves that they're pretty self-aware. They looked in the mirror and said something was missing. They went and got, Gardner Johnson back, like you said, for that defense, because that defense in that Bucs game was inexcusable. So now it's going to be, if they've shored up all that, Sirianni and your coaching staff now has to make it work. And he's going to be under a lot of pressure this year.
Here's my doom and gloom. Here's my negativity. I don't want to be too negative, but here's my negativity. Is it lipstick on a pig? And what I mean by that is, all right, so do we all agree that the Eagles offense will be a little better next year? Kellen Moore being their offensive coordinator with Saquon Barkley, Devontae Parker, like they have all pro line, Jalen Hurts coming back healthy. Do we all agree their offense is going to look better next year?
Oh, yeah.
It should. Yep.
Okay. So what happens if their offense looks better next year? Who's one of the next head coaches in the NFL? It's going to be Kellen Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are you stuck with? Nick Sirianni upgrading or promoting someone from within, or creating another new system for Jalen Hurts to play in, which will, by the way, be his sixth in 8 years, which is insane for a quarterback. I want you to think about that. He went from Saban to Lincoln Riley to Doug Peterson to Sirianni and Steichen to Brian Johnson to now Kellen Moore. That's wild. That's a little crazy. It's a lot of offenses to learn. I think it's lipstick on a pig. I think they should have fired their head coach. I was very, very upset when they brought Sirianni back, because I don't think that's not true. That is not true. Is that true? That can't be true.
I can't say I've heard it.
If he made me stop the whole damn show to check this.
Oh, Ian Rappaport, 1 year, $7.5 million with the Eagles.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 3 minutes ago.
Holy crap. What an off season. Stop it. I need to. Give me a minute. You guys talk. That's insane.
Well, I mean, look, it's, a lot of people look at the Eagles front office as probably the best in the league. That would, further prove it. I mean, Devin White is a pretty good talent. But, I mean, I get what you're saying with the Sirianni part. That's why I'm like, it seems like they're loading it up to this point where it's like, if this does not work, Sirianni, it has to be you. This is like his final shot in the dark.
It is him. Bro, if you heard the reports coming out of Philadelphia, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that it just seems like they didn't want to necessarily put it all on him last year. So they're redoing everything, and they're going to see whether or not it was just a 1 year issue of the coordinators that they had who didn't get it done, or if it truly is the man in charge, Sirianni. If this team starts off slow with what they've done, I wouldn't even give Sirianni the whole season next year. I'd make the move mid-season and just keep it moving. So it's all good and well that they're signing these players, but Sirianni has to do better.
No, it is him though. And the reports out of Philadelphia were, and they're so crazy because they line up so perfectly, is that Big Dom was the guy that kept Nick Sirianni on the rails. And when Big Dom got suspended, he was screaming at people on the sideline, and he didn't have Dom that, hey, dude, you shouldn't be doing that. And he was causing friction with a lot of his players. And to me, it's insane. Like, the head of security was the glue that held it all together. That can't be real. Like, I hear some of these reports, and my eyes are just like, what are we doing? And I'm not a Sirianni guy. I don't like guys that talk a lot of shit and don't back it up. And I think that his offensive scheme is terrible. It was very obvious that Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni didn't know how to beat a blitz last year. And I don't care what you put on offense. Now, I'm very confident Kellen Moore knows how to beat a blitz. But I don't understand how you don't know to run slants and drags to beat a blitz. You learn that in high school. You learn it in high school. I mean,
could it be that they're hoping Kellen Moore is the next guy? And they just got him in the building just to get him in. Like I said, make it seem like Sirianni can still keep his job, but maybe they already have in their mind they're going to move on from Sirianni and put Kellen Moore there. I don't know.
The reason they like Sirianni so much is because he's a puppet for the front office. And after the situation with Chip Kelly, they don't want to have someone that needs control in the front office. So they want someone that they can control. So not an all Eagles show, but I'm really excited to talk about the Eagles and their free agency. And now it's signing Devin White. That's such a great signing. They need a linebacker very badly. Now all I need is them to get Trashberry out of town. Get that gutless wonder out of town. Dude, I'm dead serious. I'll stand out in front of the NovaCare complex with that trash can and saying Trashberry. He stinks. He was burnt toast last year. I ain't blaming that on the defensive coordinator. He was terrible. Got a lot of money and was awful. All right, guys, let's move on. Kyle is a fan of the New England Patriots. And I'm not taking any shots at them. I'm not. Because I think the New England Patriots right now are having an okay offseason. When I say okay offseason, I'm going to read it out to you guys so you guys at home can think about it. Kyle likes it. There's a lot of moves being made, right? They signed an offensive lineman on Wenu. I'm really bad at the name, sorry. Hunter Henry, 3 years, $27 million. Anthony Jenkins, a linebacker, 3 years, $24 million. Re-signed Kyle Duggar. They got Jacoby Brissett in there, presumably to be like a backup or a guide to your rookie quarterback that you bring in. I don't like the Kendrick Bourne signing. I don't like the Antonio Gibson signing. I hate Jalen Reagor. I don't know how much I like this offseason. And what my question I would ask you is, what do you think, Kyle? What has you excited about this offseason for the Patriots?
So, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're having like an A+ offseason. Like I did a video on my channel where I basically said it's like a C+ right now.
Okay.
And like I gave it that because they still have a bunch of cap space left. They still have a couple of needs that I would like to see them address in the offseason. I would love to see them get a wide receiver who can be a number one and still draft one. I don't want them to go through the draft and not get one. But it was just that with so much uncertainty of what the Patriots would look like post Bill Belichick, it just seems like they've kind of looked at some of the guys they drafted in recent years. They've hung on to some of them, like a Wenu is a guy who should come back. You know, Anthony Jennings got a rough start in New England, but last year he had a pretty good season, so I understood that. I mean, even the Jalen Reagor, that's like kick returner. I don't think that's where they see his value. He had a couple of good kick returns last season, so I'm fine with that. Bourne is a guy who wanted to be there and can make plays with the ball in his hand after the catch. Gibson's a guy who, if he gets past the fumbling issues, he's a compliment to Ramondre Stevenson, and Stevenson only has 1 year left on his deal. It's just moves that they made. I understand why they did them, but I do still need to see them do a little bit more. Because when you plays on the right side, wouldn't mind if they got a left tackle in free agency and then drafted a tackle as well. And like I said, a wide receiver, there's a couple out there. I mean, yeah, I had my hopes set on Calvin Ridley, but the more that situation kind of went on, it seemed like Ridley was using the Patriots to drive up the Jaguars' price. The Jags wouldn't budge, and then the Titans came in. It kind of trumped both teams, and that's where he went. So I can't necessarily be mad at New England for not going above and beyond maybe what their limit was to go get him. But yeah, I would have loved to see it. So now the rest of the wide receivers, it's like guys like Tyler Boyd, Mike Williams, and stuff like that. And I wouldn't mind if they brought in one of those to, just see if it works. But yeah, so like I said, I'm like C+ with them. I understand the moves, but need to see them do a little bit more.
I left this question up there because I don't want to miss it. Random question: what free agency move got you shaking your head like why? And to me, yesterday I would have said Calvin Ridley, 4 years, $92 million. It's way too much money for an unproven wide receiver. It's $23 million a year, guys. It's way too much. But I'll ask you guys because I have a different answer now. What free agency move has you shaking your head, not understanding why?
I mean, I have one. It just happened like today. I don't get what the Cardinals are doing taking Desmond Ridder. And I get it that Rondale Moore has first 2 years, like 40-something catches, whatever. But the quarterback position in Arizona's been an issue. Why you move him for Ridder to just be your backup? And do you really want Ridder out there playing if Kyler Murray were to go down? Based on what you'd seen with him in Atlanta? And you can't say it was a terrible situation in Atlanta. He's had good running backs. He's got a great tight end and some good wide receivers, and he couldn't get it done. But you trade for that. For what reason? I saw that. I thought it was a joke at first. I was like, there's no way somebody traded for Desmond Ridder. And lo and behold, they did. And got a slot wide receiver in return. Like, if they gave a draft pick, I wouldn't have cared. Maybe they're just like, maybe Ridder just needs somewhere else to be. But to give up a wide receiver for Desmond Ridder made me shake my head as soon as I saw it. So that's the one for me.
Brett?
Man, this is tough because the one I almost said was the one that John just mentioned, the Panthers trading Brian Burns and getting pennies on the dollar for what they could have gotten last year.
Bro, how ridiculous is that organization? They were offered 2 firsts. They said no. They sold him for a second and a fifth. And then the amount of money that New York paid him? Holy smokes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to go my homer answer. I hated us signing Keyshawn Nixon for $6 million a year for pretty much being a kick returner. That dude is terrible on defense. So I think we overpaid there. Non-Packer answer. I'm still trying to figure out what Jacksonville's doing, assembling like 5 number 2 receivers and 3s. I think $13 million a year is too much for Gabe Davis.
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
What has he shown since his 4 touchdown game against Kansas City that you're like, that's our guy, let's give him $13 million a year? No. He hasn't shown anything since then. So that's my answer. I think they're going to regret that really quickly.
I thought the first move in all free agency had me shaking my head. I had DeAndre Swift pegged at like a $4 to $5 million running back, maybe a 3-year, $15 million deal. He got 3 years, $24 million to be the bell cow over in Chicago. Like, this is what I mean. Bear's going to bear. He's not a great pass blocker either. So, like, if you're saying you're getting him back there to, like, rookie quarterback, want to have a veteran back there, There's a reason he stopped playing in Detroit. Dan Campbell wouldn't let him on the field because Jamal Williams is a better pass blocker. It's a terrible signing. A terrible one. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is there's some defensive linemen that are just getting massive money. Brian Burns got $30 million a year. Chris Jones, at the defensive tackle position, got $32 million per year. That's a lot of friggin' money for a defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Wilkins at the defensive tackle position got $27.5 million per year. It's a lot of money. I'm not filling my defensive line with guys worth $30 million. Let me ask you a question real quick. Who do you think impacts the game more, Tyreek Hill or Christian Wilkins?
Oh, Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill makes you do, and he's getting $30 million a year. It's insane. Yeah, it does. That's a great point. It makes the Titans contract for Jeffrey Simmons look like great value. I guess with the salary cap going up and a lot of these cap enthusiasts knowing what they can spend down the line helps them. Danny Dempsey asks, why isn't Tua signed yet? You know why Tua's not signed yet. You know this. I still don't think that organization fully believes in him.
No.
I wouldn't either.
I'd say Tua hasn't given us the reason to fully believe in Tua.
Miami Dolphins are another interesting team. I feel like they've had a terrible offseason. They've lost a lot of guys. Their most notable signing was Jordan Brooks, 3 years, $30 million at the linebacker position. Kendall Fuller got a 2 year, $16.5 million deal. He is so overrated and old. Jordan Poyer got a 1 year, $2 million deal. Talk about a prove it deal. I'm not a fan of what Miami's doing this offseason. They lost X-Man, Xavier Howard, Christian Wilkins. They still haven't really fully addressed their offensive line. They just re-signed Robert Jones, but that's basically it. I think they have offensive line issues. I really don't like the way their off seasons looked. Your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins?
The Miami Dolphins, I don't like them. I don't like their offseason. I think this team is slated to finish third in their division. Thankfully, the Patriots are there to, prevent them from bottoming out. Sorry, Kyle. But I think that this is hasn't been a great offseason for him. There's a reason Tua hasn't been signed yet because he hasn't really proven that he can carry a team or put a game on his shoulders, even really for a short stretch. So the Dolphins, at the end of the day, I don't think they want to pay $40 million a year to a game manager, for a lack of a better term. So I think this has been a really bad offseason for him, and I think the only reason they don't finish last is because of the Patriots.
Damn, you heard that, Kyle? The shots fired right there.
Hey, look, as a Patriots fan, I understand it's going to take a couple of years, so that's no biggie to me. If you look at that division, really, Miami hasn't done a lot. The Jets haven't done anything. And the Bills, I mean, who knows? Next year's going to be interesting. But, yeah, for Miami, it is a little troubling that they're another team that finished their season not necessarily in the best way, where it was just a little bit of cold weather really killed their playoff hopes in Kansas City. You would have thought that they probably would have been aggressive this offseason to try to build on what they did last year, whereas it almost seems like they're taking the approach that if we just bring most of these guys back, fill in maybe a couple of these guys that we lost in the draft, we should be right back there. And I think that's a dangerous way to play this. So, yeah, I haven't been impressed by what Miami's done this year.
I saved this last topic for the end. We only have 5 minutes left. And if you're listening right now, strap in. It's going to be a fun 5 minutes. Who do you think is the worst offseason so far? And by the way, there's only one answer, and anything else you say, you're wrong. There's one team that's had the worst. Actually, there's two teams that have terrible offseasons. One by necessity, the other one by choice. Worst offseason.
You know, the first team that came to mind was Jacksonville. Feels like they just haven't addressed anything that they really needed. So I really hate their offseason.
Okay. Wrong, but that's okay. It's a joke.
I mean,
You could be right. You could be right. I
feel like there's a few teams that haven't like done anything at all. It has to be one of them. I mean, I mentioned the Jets, but at least the Jets are waiting for Aaron Rodgers to magically come back and save them.
I mean, Jack Newman. I got to give him credit.
Well, I mean, those are the other teams. It's like the Cowboys haven't done anything yet, and the Chargers, because of their cap situation, are just losing guys and haven't really brought anybody in. But I was just going to say the Jets because the stuff like whenever Aaron Rodgers is talking now, he just seems like a guy who's not dedicated to football, and the Jets are basing their whole relevance on that one guy. So that alone, they're losers for me. Like, the man's talking about politics now. Like, what are we doing here?
Jerry Jones met with reporters directly after the Super Bowl and said that we are going all in this 2024 offseason to win a Super Bowl. All in. They're all in. The Dallas Cowboys are all in this 2020. So I would tell you what all in means. They signed long snapper Trent Sieg to a 1-year deal. And yesterday, they signed Eric Kendricks, aging linebacker. The end.
How weird was that story? He agreed with the Niners and then was like, "Yeah, I'll go to Dallas instead."
I can't take it. It's so funny to me. They lost Tyron Smith. They lost Leighton Vander Esch. Their safeties need a lot of help. Dax and legal issues. Apparently, you see this 2017 assault thing coming up. Guys, yeah. I love watching the Cowboys crumble. There's nothing else that tickles my fancy more than watching the Cowboys crumble. I love the Cowboys crumbling almost as much as I love the Eagles winning. Who's their starting running back next year? Deuce Vaughn?
Deuces.
What are we doing? This is amazing. Who's playing left tackle for him next year?
The funny part is this only gets worse because they're already talking about, Dak and his, $60 million.
$50 million extension. I love it.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about King Henry. I think that's a bad fit for Baltimore. Let me be clear there. I think King Henry's not a great fit for Baltimore. I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to be labeled a hater, but we don't have too much time. But I think King Henry's a bad signing for Baltimore.
King Henry, real quick, he's not a shotgun running back.
That's exactly my point. He needs 6-7 yards to get loaded.
That's Baltimore for you.
I can't. But I just want to finish on strong. I can't get it. I don't get it. And the Chargers, I get it, man. They're $60 million over the cap.
Yeah.
They need to get rid of people. The Chargers have 4 of the top 30 salary hits this year, or top 12 salary hits this year. 4 of them are on their team. Now, one of them just got cut. But it's like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Khalil Mack, and Joey Bosa. They're 4 out of top 12.
Crazy.
They signed him for $12 million to be a short yardage back. That's terrible. Guys, fun episode of Sideline to Sideline. We're going to be back sooner rather than later. We'll be doing our draft preview. Then we're going to do our whole live for the draft. This is our off season, so we probably won't be back next week, but look out for more great content on Wire to Wire Network. We got shows galore. Tomorrow, you got Coffee and Sports with Chris and Mo. Tomorrow night, you got Road to Gold breaking down UFC. Saturday, Cottrell breaks down another Reel to Reel, and Sunday night, little up and in action for baseball podcast. And any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah. Check out And One tonight, 8 o'clock Central.
Oh, Kyle, Guardy 3, what did you think I was ending with?
My bad.
That's all right. Kyle.
I mean, as Joseph said, AA Ron's going to AA Ron.
That's fair. Love everybody in the comments today. Michael Irvin, Joseph Jeffers, John Suggs, Daniel Dempsey, Derek Dempsey, Jack Newman, Joseph Jeffers. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys coming through. Tune into Wire to Wire Network. It's just 1 hour. You're going to watch N1 podcast. I'm telling you right now, if you're a basketball fan or a basketball historian, or if you want to sound cool talking to your friends, just at knowing some really cool stats and some 80s, 90s guys, there's not a better basketball historian than my man Guardy3. And he gets on with Mr. Mo Money, Mo Betta. They got all these different segments, puppy prospects. Love that. It's my favorite part. They have their underrated player of the week. Brett, you're doing a great job. Tune in to N1, just 1 hour. Thank you so much for listening to Wire to Wire Network. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. That's not guarding the 2. He's guarding the 3, Guardy3. And we are signing out.